Well, good morning and welcome back to another week on my allotment. We had a lovely week away on the north coast of Devon, and when I finish waffling I'll show you some clips of our fantastic week. We always have a lovely time. We've never had a duff one, touch wood. The weather held out, the weather was great. It was windy on the North Devon coast, but yeah, the sun shone and we had a wonderful time. So back with a vengeance this morning, and lots to do. I've said it before, I have to suppress the feeling of panic that I've worked all this time, all through the winter and early spring, keeping it immaculate. And you know, some of you have made some lovely comments about how tidy it is. You go away for 1 week and all hell breaks loose. So I've got lots to do today. You just saw me, I brought up a few more of my plants, some more peas to get in, and then I've got to sow one more lot of peas and that's it done. But talking about the lovely weather last week, as it starts to rain as I speak, I'm going to have a wet day today. Got my waterproof with me, and I don't care what the weather does, I've got lots to do. And it's dominated by one word: weeding. All the beds are riddled, you know, as they always are. It just shows how fertile and hospitable my soil is to growing things. But lots of the crops are doing well. I might be able to start harvesting broad beans. I'm not sure, I'll have a look, but the pods look mature. Lots of potatoes have come up and I need to earth them up. I'm going to start my comfrey fertiliser today. Lots of really big comfrey. So yeah, I'm not going to do a plot tour as such, but when I've shown you some clips of our week away, I'll do a quick whip around the plot. So yeah, lots to do, some interesting stuff to read out about the body. I'd like to say a public that's the Kelly kettle starting to boil. I'd like to say a public thank you to Terry. John, I asked him to water my stuff while I was away, just the stuff in the little pots, but unfortunately he was away at the same week as me. So I texted Terry, and as a good mate does, he stepped into the breach and he's been up here and watered everything, and I haven't lost a single plant. So thank you, Terry. So yeah, let's get started. Welcome to the North Devon coast. We're near the village of Woolacombe on the coast. We arrived yesterday, and it's interesting to see how people site on a campsite. Most people tend to bunch together. We're a little bit different. Walking from the campsite to the coast. Now that's a house with a view. That's our destination.
I think we're going to come stuck here.
Some people are lucky, although I'm sure they've all earned it. What a beautiful place to live. VW van heaven. Leaving Woolacombe. We enjoyed our half day there.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And and do a walk on a hot day with a pint.
You are common.
No, it's your fault.
Pasty for lunch. Welcome to Royal Horticultural Society Garden, Rosemore. We're just a little bit early for the roses.
And flowers on the broad beans.
Crimson flowered, I think you'll find that is.
They're pretty, aren't
Go and tell me if it's crimson flowered.
they? Yeah. Oh, thank you. Get a gold star.
I grew those last year. Time for lunch. Well, this is the RHS allotment. I've got some work to do. This vegetable area is a work of art. Everything is immaculate. Yeah.
That's a good fight there with that magnolia, isn't it? Magnolia, it's already going into it.
An evening watching the sun going down. Welcome to Marwood Hill Gardens on my birthday. You gonna sing?
No.
Truly stunning.
Thank you, darling.
Welcome to Ilfracombe. Sun's out, shades on. As we get closer to the sea, these trees have been snapped off halfway up. I'm guessing that this is the devastation caused by Storm Eunice, and it's getting worse as we get closer to the sea. It must have been a frightening place to be on the night of the storm.
Hello, stranger. Who are you?
I'm completely lost. Where do we go from here? Let me just correct a mistake. I just did my intro and unforgivably I didn't mention it was my birthday last week. 59. Enjoyed every year, I think. Well, most of them. My eldest son's partner and their daughter, Nikki and Lexi, have gone back to Taiwan to see her family. And I got a birthday card from Nikki and Lexi. And Lexi, bless her, had written her own name in it. So thank you very much, Lexi. I appreciate that. As the sun rises on my plot in the second half of May, I thought I'd start up this end. This is the perennial spinach, not perennial, perpetual spinach. The kiwi plant has recovered from that little nip it got from the frost and looks well. I hope it will start to grow up in the next few weeks. Trouble with going away is your radishes get big. The blueberry plants are looking fantastic, laden heavily with immature fruit. These are all the plants that Terry watered for me. It couldn't look better, and that includes these edamame beans. Here are the broad beans, looking fantastic. Thrilled with that. But let's very swiftly and briefly make a trip down the plot. These are second early potatoes, Kestrel and Charlotte. Bit of earthing up to do there. Beetroot is looking good, including the second lot I put in just before we went away. They were very small plants, and although there's a load of weeds amongst them, they look okay. That won't take much to sort out. Strawberries look fantastic. I read an article this week actually that said because of the dry spring we've had, they're expecting a bumper strawberry harvest. Well, I hope that's true. I'm also very pleased to report that all 5 of my asparagus plants have survived. that one that looked dead that I pointed out in a previous video has now put up a shoot, and I've got to put a little frame around that one now. So yeah, all my asparagus has survived. I'm over the moon with that. Those are the 2 courgette plants I put in too early, as I always do, and they look great. I'm putting some of my winter squash mashed potato in this bed once it's all weeded. The garlic is looking good. The garlic we got at home that I've stored from last year, Cheryl tells me that the stuff that's left, and there's not a lot, but has all gone soft and is pretty much over it now. So we can't get that new garlic soon enough. I suppose really, you don't have to dry it, do you? You could pick it out now and start using it. So looks like the garlic has seen us through the year, which is fantastic. Pea alderman looking absolutely beautiful. Thrilled with that. Here are those potatoes that were a bit slow, but go away for a week and they make an appearance. The onions, they're really thickening up. Thrilled with those. Oh, I've just spotted my first bolted one. Oh dear. Let's hope that doesn't become a trend. Oh, we'll just have to use it quickly. The brassica beds are riddled with weeds, but again, it's a 20-minute job to lift the netting off, hoe it, and put the netting back. More onions here. Yep, and I can see one has bolted. I suppose that's the downside of a dry spring. The tomato plants I put in way too early with all the wind and rain that they had last week here. Somehow managed to have survived. And I've got lots more in the greenhouse at home. I found a blight resistant variety called Oh Happy Days. I bought it because I love the name, which is not the way to buy your vegetables, but there you go. Or your fruit in the case of a tomato. And then there's a case, that's an empty bed there. Well, you wouldn't know it, you'd think I'd got crops in it, it's so weedy. But again, it doesn't take much. These are the onions that I sowed from seed, never done that before. And they're doing very well, very pleased with them. More empty beds there that just need a good weed. I've opened up the leaf mould bays to try and get some rain in, just to dampen it a bit. And here's my setup ready for the comfrey. And then coming through here, the carrots are coming on nicely. Bit of thinning out needed there, always a risky business, thinning out. I've got a row of main crop potatoes in here, Sarpo Mira, and there are just signs of the potatoes coming through. Comfrey plants are coming on, as are those blackberries I inherited when I first got the plot. Definitely doing all that suppression with the chippings and then picking out the nettles as they come has led to a much neater, easier to access bed this year. And then here's one of my problem areas, the newest part of my plot. So onions and leeks, and then some strawberries, which I might have to open up and have a look at today. But I weeded this, I hoed it before I went away. That's a week, that was a clear bed when I went away, and that's a week's worth. Up they come. And then again here, lots of onions, very small, spring sown, being overshadowed by weeds, so some work to do there. So yeah, it's all looking a little bit tired, but it won't take much to get back into shape. I won't manage it all today, but you know, over the next week I'll sort it. And I'm pleased to report, looking through this frame, that some of my half dozen gourd birdhouse have germinated while I've been away. So I will have at least a couple. Thrilled to bits with that. That'll be a first for me. I read an article recently about the 5 a day campaign, which apparently started in 2003, and it came out of the World Health Organization. I was surprised to read that. I thought the 5 a day message had been around all my life. Anyway, apparently 2003. And it's interesting to see the history of it. It's not based in science at all. They were trying to come up with some sort of recommendation that people would follow. And so they said, well, everyone's got 5 fingers. They can remember that. 5 portions a day. 5 portions a day. So that's where it comes from. It comes because you've got 5 fingers. I mean, you might like to think actually you've got 10. But anyway, yeah, that's where it comes from. Something that people can remember and something that is achievable. Rather, you know, I think that's so condescending. Why not tell us the truth and then you can deal with it? But no. Anyway, that's where it comes from. It came from the World Health Organization, trying to get people to eat more fruits and vegetables, which is, you know, it's a noble enough intention, just, you know, poorly thought through. And it turns out that currently about 8% of children achieve their 5 a day. And interestingly, I didn't know this, potatoes don't count as one of your 5 a day. I read an article, I think it's in How Not to Die, that less than 1% of Americans achieve their 5 a day. And of the ones that achieve their 5 a day, because in America a potato counts as a vegetable, which sort of makes sense. It is a vegetable after all. But of the 1% of the population that achieve their 5 a day, 90% of their 5 a day comes from potatoes in the form of chips. Oh, I mean, none of us seem to come out of this well, but I've had my 5 a day. I've had some vinegar and salt on them. Anyway, I thought that was all very interesting. But there's a reason for my rattling on. I thought rather than just, you know, tear everything down and complain about the way things go, I thought I'd give you a little tip. And again, this came out of Michael Greger's How Not to Die. And at the end of the book, the last chapter deals with how he achieves. And of course, 5 a day is ridiculous. What you should be doing is eating only fruit, vegetables, mushrooms, beans, seeds. They're the foods we're designed, that's what our stomach is intended to eat. We need fibre. It's essential. Fibre is essential for our digestion. And that's where you get it, fruits and vegetables. But what he does, he says every time he has a meal, I mean, I think he's a bit obsessive. I'm not that obsessive, but you know, when it doesn't involve a great deal of effort and it's easy to do, why not? All he does is he looks at every meal and he thinks, can I increase the goodness of that meal? And for example, I bring when I come up here early on a Sunday, I always bring my breakfast in a Tupperware thing, and other sealable products are available. And we always have fruit on our breakfast. But what we also do is we have those little glass herb containers, and we always put on our breakfast some ginger and cinnamon. I have put nutmeg on in the past. And of course, the thing about those sort of herbs, even when they're dried and in those containers, they are powerfully good for you. So there's a bowl of cereal. We don't eat conventional cereal because conventional breakfast cereals are about as junk as food can get, although they're sold as health foods. So we get ours from a company called Rude Health, I think it is. They do oat cereals. And then, you know, like I say, then we put cinnamon, we've had nutmeg, ginger, and then fruit. And so from a breakfast that's that good for you, with a couple of shakes of those glass things, it goes up to there. And then, for example, on a salad, we have B12 powder, and then we will put on some mixed herbs. You know, you can buy mixed dried herbs in a glass thing. You can tell I'm not a shopper. And we scatter those on our salads and any other herbs that are fairly tasteless. Some of the herbs can be a bit overwhelming, can't they? It's all about taste. But again, a salad is incredibly good for you, all those green leaves that whack up the immune system. But when you scatter more herbs and stuff on, which you know you don't taste, if you get it right, you simply don't know they're there. That takes it from there to there. Now, of course, they don't count as one of your 5 a day. Well, I don't think so. I don't know. They're plants, so it's got to be good for you. But that takes a healthy meal just another notch up. We've always done that since I read that in the How Not to Die. I think it's a really powerful tool, and I thought I'd pass it on. Good health, everybody. Okay, deep breath, Martin, relax. That's one job done. As I endeavour to bring you stuff that's fascinating, interesting, or mildly amusing, I thought I'd read you a little paragraph about our skin. The human body is unbelievably complex, more so than we can understand. There's so much science doesn't know about our bodies, especially the brain, and I just think it's fascinating. So I hope you'll bear with me and learn something. It may be slightly surprising to think it, but our skin is our largest organ and possibly the most versatile. It keeps our insides in and bad things out. It cushions blows, it gives us our sense of touch, bringing us pleasure and warmth and pain and nearly everything else that makes us vital. It produces melanin to shield us from the sun's rays. It repairs itself when we abuse it. It accounts for such beauty as we can muster. It looks after us. The formal name for skin is the cutaneous system. Its size is about 2 square metres, approximately 20 square feet. And all your skin will weigh somewhere in the region of 10 to 15 pounds. Though much depends naturally on how tall you are and how much buttock and belly it needs to stretch across. It is thinnest on the eyelids, just 1/1000th of an inch thick, and thickest on the heels of our hands and feet. Unlike a heart or a kidney, skin never fails. Our seams don't burst, we don't spontaneously sprout leaks. The skin consists of an inner layer called the dermis and an outer epidermis. The outermost surface of the epidermis, called the stratum corneum, is made up entirely of dead cells. It is an arresting thought that all that makes you lovely is deceased. Where body meets air, we are all cadavers. These outer skin cells are replaced every month. We shed skin copiously, almost carelessly, some 25,000 flakes a minute. Over 1 million pieces every hour. Run a finger along a dusty shelf and you are in large part clearing a path through fragments of your former self. Silently and remorselessly we turn to dust. Skin flakes are properly called squarms, meaning scales. We each trail behind us about a pound or half a kilo of dust every year. If you burn the contents of a vacuum cleaner, the predominant odour is that unmistakable scorched smell that we associate with burning hair. That's because skin and hair are largely made of the same stuff, keratin. Wow. Now tell me that's not fascinating. 1 million pieces of skin drop off us every hour. Wow. Culture, that is. Culture and science all mixed to one. Oh, I've had a fantastic day, really productive, despite Les's best efforts to keep me talking. And I met a couple of new plotters. Amazing, you go away for a week, so much happens. More of that in a second, a little bit of gossip. But excuse me reading from some notes. I've achieved so much today that I've had to write it down because I can't remember it all. So what have I done today? I have weeded with the hoe and on my hands and knees in some cases. I've weeded every single bed. I've planted more peas. I've earthed up the potatoes that I can. I've put in the last of the tiny little bamboo and string frames around my asparagus, so as it grows, I read that somewhere, it doesn't all bend and drop and snap. So I've done the last of those. I've tied in and I've side shooted the tomatoes that I've got growing in the ground here now. I've removed all the brassica netting. Three beds have got brassica netting on. Took it off completely, weeded and put it all back. I've harvested some rhubarb and some radishes. I've chopped up and started, you saw some of that, the comfrey feed. And I've put some more manure in the working compost heap. I say manure, it's mostly straw, but that's brown. And I've also cut all my grass today around my bed and over where the communal area used to be. More of that in a second. So yeah, more straw and manure in the compost heap. I've planted my first mashed potato plants out, winter squash mashed potato. So there's 4 of those now in the ground. Yeah, cut my grass, I said, and I've eaten my first strawberry. What a moment! And it was a big one and all. I've got those 2 pieces of plastic corrugated sheeting that came from my back garden, and I've planted some spare strawberry plants that had set in the strawberry beds out of where they should be. So I stuck them down there. I put those over as a cloche, thinking they might warm up and crop early, and they are. There's some they're slightly orangey, pink ones turning now, and the plants are heavily laden with big fat strawberries. So, another week tops. I've had to pick a couple of slugs off them. The one I ate actually had a slug in it, but I got a knife and chopped that bit off, and I ate the rest. There was plenty of it for me. Normally I give the first strawberry of the year to Cheryl, but I don't think she'd want it with a slug hole in it, so that was mine. New plotters. I think I've said before, the chap who owns this land and who very generously set up this site, it's land share, not allotments. He takes very little interest. As long as he gets his money, he's happy. He doesn't come up here. He's just not interested. And that's his prerogative. So he's not really sure. I said I've got that piece of ground that it's not mine, but every year it's unoccupied and it goes to seed, and I get all the weed seeds on my plot. So this year I've covered it with plastic. So that, he's not aware of that being there. Anyway, what happened was, one of the ladies in the central area, her allotment, if I'm generous, it's not the neatest, and she's got a couple of pieces of ground. Well, when you look at them, they look abandoned, but she had recently, for example, apparently planted potatoes in the ground. It's covered in weeds, but there were potatoes in the ground. Well, the landowner has come along with a new plotter, seen this bit of ground and said, that's not being used, you can have that. So this new fella comes along and quite innocently thinks, right, I'll get stuck into that. He's dug it all up and over, he's raked it all, he's put a path in, and yesterday apparently the lady came along and was most upset, I shouldn't laugh, to find that she'd lost half her allotment that she'd paid for. So there was a bit of a set to apparently. Anyway, the new chap, who had done nothing wrong, said, look, I'm sorry, you'll have to go and speak to Lyndon. He gave me this. Anyway, you know, I wasn't here, so I missed out on the shenanigans. But there you go. You know, if you own land, keep control of it. Anyway, yeah, I've had a good day. We had a lovely week. Although I'm glad to be back on the plot now. I've got a week of work coming up. I think there's going to be some rain this week, which is okay because it means I don't have to water everything. And the plot is looking really good. I haven't harvested any broad beans, although there are some that I could. I'll leave it a few more days till there's more, and then I'll take them home. We tend to freeze them for the winter, and we do like our broad beans. So, thanks for joining me. I hope you found something of interest to watch. And if you didn't, you've gone by now, haven't you? So I will see you all next week. So until then, take care, look after yourself. Bye for now.